Welcome to my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker, where we help you experience God's power and rest in your purpose and progress as you move forward step by step in all the things God has called and created you to do at home and around the world. Hello, y'all, and welcome back to my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker. How many of you have notebooks full of great ideas that you've had over the years, or maybe even in the last year, or maybe conference by conference, God is speaking to you on things that you could be doing? Or maybe there's some things that God put on your heart years ago, maybe even as a child, dreams that He planted the seed on inside, and you have yet to see those fulfilled and yet to walk those out. Well, today I want to talk about the 6 small steps that you can do to move from dreamer to doer. There's a big difference between having a dream and it coming to reality. There's things on our part that we have to do. Wouldn't it be nice if we could God would give us all these ideas and we could just lay down, pray, and ask God to do it all, and poof, it would supernaturally happen. But that's not how God created us or His kingdom. He created us specifically for the purpose He had in mind. You know, it even talks in the Bible a couple of places of where Jesus spoke over people in their mother's womb, the purpose and destiny He had for them. Like Jeremiah, I've appointed you as prophet to the nations. So there is a divine destiny on your life. And so absolutely, throughout your life, you're going to get glimpses of what God wants you to do. But the difference between somebody who's got the dream and somebody who actually does it is simply action. They've simply added action and taken steps. And I know sometimes we see this huge gap between where we are and where we want to go, and that stops a lot of us in our tracks. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't even, the dream is so big, and it needs to be so big because without God, you couldn't do it. But with God, all things are possible. And that dream isn't meant to paralyze you or to overwhelm you. It's meant to give you vision of where you're going. Write the vision and make it plain, Habakkuk talks about, so that those who read it can run with it. So I really want to break it down today and talk about the small things that you can do, because I know a lot of us in today's culture, we don't find ourselves with big pockets of time to do something with. But we can find small things that we can do. And small things done consistently over time makes a big difference. All right, so let's talk about those 6 small steps to move from dreamer to do. And the first one is to create necessary space in your life. So this means you either need to remove something, or decrease something, right? Have you ever thought about, y'all listen to this, if you did something for just 5 minutes a day, at the end of the month, you worked on it for 2.5 hours. Now, you might not look at your schedule right now and be like, oh, I've got a 2.5 hour block that I can do something with. But you can easily make space for 5 minutes a day. So create the necessary space in your life. Ask God, what do you need to let go of? What do you need to reduce? And you know what's a really powerful exercise? It's to actually pay attention and write down how long it takes you to actually do things, how long you are actually scrolling on social media, how long are you watching TV, how long are you taking to make dinner, how long are you doing these things? And there's a number of ways to create space. You can find somebody else to do it. You can barter. You can find an intern, a volunteer, a family member who is going to make dinner once a week. There's a lot of ways to do that, but the principle is create space. Number 2, begin with baby steps. Okay, so many of us, this goes along to creating space, but Baby steps. So many of us are good at multitasking, or we try to multitask, but that's not what we need to do. We need to mini task. There's a number of things that I do, even getting these podcasts ready, that takes a long time to get them out to release. And I was like, oh, I don't have 2 to 3 hours chunk to do what I need to do to get these out every time I release a new episode. But I started to mini task. I started to break it into 15-minute chunks. And then each day I gave myself a 15-minute chunk of task that was a baby step towards releasing my podcast episodes. So baby step it out, mini task out what needs to be done. Maybe it's an email, research, writing, phone calls, whatever it might be, mini task it and begin with those baby steps. Number 3, generate reminders until you develop a habit. All right. So if it's not already a part of your normal flow, let's create a system to help you get it done. So for you, it might be as simple as creating a to-do list that you keep in front of where you work and you can cross things off daily. For others, you might need to literally set a reminder in order to make it happen and remind you. But do whatever you can do to set up a system and generate reminders until it becomes a habit. And even after that, y'all know, just having a to-do list and checking it off is so amazing. Number 4, be aware of your dream thieves. All right. John 10:10, right? The verse for this episode, this whole podcast. John 10:10, the thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So what are those things that are stealing, killing, and destroying from the dream God's given you, from the visions God's given you? Maybe that's time. If you do the exercise of figuring out how long things are actually taking and where time is wasted and could be better utilized. Maybe it's mindsets. Maybe it's thoughts. Or maybe it's even lies that the enemy is filling your head with and you're entertaining that is stealing from the dream. Maybe it's people. Maybe it's distractions. But be aware of your dream thieves. And if you're not sure, like if something really a thief, like is it really taking from me doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Ask Jesus and he'll tell you. And you can even in your quiet time, just ask him, Lord, what is stealing from, what is the roadblock? What is the block? Where am I stuck? What is stealing from the dream that you've given me? And he might reveal it's a specific thing, but he also might reveal it's fear, or it's the lie of I'm not good enough, or whatever it might be. All right. Number 5 is celebrate your progress. So y'all know we love a good to-do list, but I wanted to talk to you about having a to-do list. Ta-da! It's keeping track of the things that you have done so you can celebrate. And it's those baby steps, the mini tasking. Celebrate it. Everything that you get done. Give yourself credit and focus on what you have done instead of what you haven't done or what's still left to be done. So give yourself that opportunity. At the beginning of the week, maybe there's the to-do list, but at the end of the week, celebrate what you got done, your to-do list. All right. And the final small step to move from dreamer to doer is number 6. Don't wait for perfect conditions. It's never going to happen. You hear people say we're waiting till the time's right. The perfect conditions will probably never happen. The difference between those who dream and those who become a reality are those who act, and clarity comes with action. So you might not have the perfect conditions. You might not have all the money. You might not have all the know-how. You might not have all the information. But as you take these small steps and walk it out, you'll get clarity, and God will lead you step by step to what you need. The word says we have an abundance for every good work and charitable donation. We have an abundance for what we need. And aren't our God-given assignments good works? Absolutely. We have an abundance. He has come that we might have life and life to the full. And when we are walking out what God has called and created us to do, the dreams, the visions, the purposes, that's where fruitfulness comes and fulfillment comes. So, y'all, I hope that these 6 steps will help you walk out what you've been called and created to do and move from those ideas that are just in your heart to starting to walk them out with courage, with faith, and with God. Not just for him, but with him. May he show up strong on your behalf as you walk with him hand in hand, step by step, to walk out what he's called and created you to do. Well, y'all, you know somebody that needs to listen to this, needs to get this into their heart too, because maybe they've talked to you over coffee or over, when you've hung out and have said, oh, I've always thought about writing a book. Or I've always wanted to do that. Or wouldn't that be amazing? As you hear in their heart, as you communicate with people, but they're not yet walking it out. Would you send them this podcast and encourage them along the way? All right, y'all. I hope this has been a blessing to you. And thank you for listening here on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker. Until next time, be blessed.
Well, friends, thank you for joining us today on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. If you enjoyed our time together and are taking away a nugget that has inspired your soul and success, would you share this episode with a loved one who could use it too? And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review this podcast and help me help others fuel and fulfill their faith journeys. Until next time, I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, a 3-time surrogate, speaker, and strategizer who loves to help you birth your God-given dreams at home and around the world. Now go do all the things God has called and created you to do with the grace and gifts God has given you.